Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This Sunday, as usually, we are doing through the Zoom Dhamma talk, meditation and Dhamma talk. First, we're going to practice a little bit metta meditation, loving kindness meditation. So after the meditation, Kashant, Sraddha, Reverend Sraddha, he's going to give a Dhamma talk. So after Dhamma talk, there are question and answer. The last item is chanting. So now Reverend Chandasara is going to lead the meditation.
Very happy morning to everyone. Now we are going to spread loving kindness towards all living beings in the universe. So, first of all, please be seated in a comfortable and straight posture. First, we need to relax our mind and body, and then we are going to cultivate loving kindness. Okay. Take a long breathe in and breathe out. 3 times breathe in and 3 times breathe out. Relax. Take it gently. Don't force breathing or breathe out. Just take it natural. Now let's spread loving kindness. May all the living beings be well, happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May all the living beings always find fulfillment. May all the living beings have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. So let us spread loving kindness in this way. You don't have to remember everything in order. Do practice whatever you remember. You can silently chant yourself and spread loving kindness meditation, because you don't have to remember everything what I said in order. Okay. So let's practice this loving kindness meditation until we hear bell sound. Thank you.
Thank you again. I believe the Reverend Sraddha is ready there to give a Dhamma talk. Before that Dhamma talk, I want to say something. This is, I believe, the almost December. Today is 20. 2020 year is going to finish very soon. We have only 2 weeks, I believe, less than 2 weeks. Since the last February, beginning with the March, because of the pandemic, we didn't have a service in our temple, but we do service through the Zoom. And that program actually, they're very successful. I'm very happy about that because all the monks, Dhamma teachers, and our guest speakers and our members are helping to us. So I'm very happy about that. However, let me say something about Sraddha. I remember I think he came to the temple starting around 1995, 6, around that time. Sraddha and Kashanti, we call Victor and Tom, they both come to our temple and study with the late Venerable Dr. Karuna Dhamma and late Venerable Dr. Ratan Sara. They both are very good students. Since that, they both are still coming to our temple and helping to us so many ways. One thing I want to say about the Sraddha, whenever he comes to the temple, first thing he's doing, he go to the Buddha statue and he respect to the Buddha, homage to the Buddha. Second, he go to memorial service and he respect to his parents' picture there and his teacher's picture. Every Sunday, whenever he come to our temple, he's doing like that. That is the greatest thing I see through the Sraddha. Again, thank you, Sraddha, being with us. And I give the time to start your talk right now. End of the talk, the members can ask the question and answer. So, Sraddha, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
All right, thank you. You
Thank
can
you,
start.
Bhante. Well, hi. I want to talk today a bit about what we're all going through at this moment in time. We're all dealing with the virus. We're all dealing with all the opinions coming from me today are mine alone. They're not the temples, they're not the monks. So anything, that's my disclosure at the moment. But in dealing with the virus, we're also dealing, as I see it, with indifferent and an unjust government in the dealing with it. And that fuels so much anger. It fueled anger in me. It fuels anger in me. And then we're all locked down, which is like a new experience for most of us. We live in a country where we could roam around where we want, do what we want, and suddenly, most of the time, we're in our homes. And I teach at a college where where I have to Zoom and do phone sessions with my students. And that brings up some other, it puts a mirror on all the inequities in life, in our country and all over the world. Some of the students come from well-to-do families and some of them are home and they have their own room and they could do the Zoom easily, and some of the students can't. They're living in a family that may not be as well off as other families, and they may not have their private room. So it brings everything. Something like this brings a mirror and brings almost a telescope to everything we're going through. And how can we deal with this as a Buddhist? I've heard other people say that it's made a huge difference in their life in that they're having doubts about their faith. And when I think about that, I can honestly say I have no doubts about my faith, no doubts about Buddhism. I have doubts about myself. I have doubts about myself, how I could channel my anger or my displeasure. I have doubts about myself, but not in Buddhism. Because in Buddhism, I find and continually find, even during these absolutely horrendous times, I find comfort. I find a path, and I find, more importantly, answers. Answers on how I'm to deal with it in everyday life. Other religions, also have wonderful philosophies, et cetera, but they wonder sometimes about, why is God doing this to me? Why is God doing this to us? We don't have that question. We don't have that question. The Buddha told us that life was going to be suffering. We're suffering through this because we were born, but he gave us a path on how to alleviate our suffering. He gave us answers. And so therefore, at this moment in time, my challenge is not with my faith. My challenge is not doubting my faith. The challenge is within myself. How can I deal with my anger at injustice, et cetera, et cetera? So therefore, what I want to look at today and talk about is, it's time for all of us to rev up our compassion, our Buddhist compassion. And Buddhist compassion is not empathy. Our compassion, when the Buddha talked about compassion, it's like two wings of a bird. Two things have to go together. Compassion goes along with wisdom. Wisdom gives rise to compassion. Compassion gives rise to wisdom. Our compassion, when we speak of compassion, it's more than empathy. It's not feeling sorry for others. Compassion contains in it an action. What do we do about the suffering we see? And that's something that I think that we all have to look at ourselves and try to focus on during these horrendous times. I read on the internet is wonderful. There was an article about Buddhist compassion. It says, how do you get it? And it reminded me of something that Reverend Kusala always says. That it's the same old joke of, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. And Reverend Kusala always mentions that if you're having trouble with your meditation and blah, 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 and it's not working, just keep doing it. And the same thing is with compassion. Keep doing it. So what can we do as we're locked down in our rooms? That's up to the individual. But we have the tools to look at it. The Buddha came to relieve suffering. So what do we do each day to relieve, first of all, our own suffering? And what do we do to relieve the suffering of others? And we can do that. We definitely can do that. We have our guide to do it. Take a look at, we have our 5 precepts. Okay, so we start with ourselves. We start with practicing not killing, practicing not committing sexual misconduct, practicing not taking what we are not given, practicing not taking intoxicants, and practicing our speech, hurtful speech. And then we have, of course, the Eightfold Path. Right effort, right meditation, right concentration, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right understanding, right thought. We start with ourselves. Too often, you know, I'm sort of a political animal, you know, involved not in like politics, but, you know, civil rights, et cetera, et cetera. And I've watched people enter it like they're about to change the world. They're all gun-ho, and that becomes their obsession. And they don't look at themselves and they burn out. I'm old enough to have seen people like that all the time, the ones that are gun-ho so instantly. And if you look at the great leaders in the world that truly changed things, if you look at the life of the Buddha, if you look at the life of Jesus, of Gandhi, Martin Luther King, a person like Susan B. Anthony, they all had one thing in common, one thing that I always have to work on, and that is patience, great patience. And if you look at what the Buddha taught us about loving kindness, let me just get here, the Brahma Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, balance. And if ever there's a time that we need balance, it's now. So what can we do to develop our compassion? It could be as simple as being kind to yourself and being kind to others, to reach out to other people that are suffering at this moment and see what you could do to help. You know, Reverend Karuna once mentioned something about, you know, all the homeless in the area, always asking for money and always, you know, saying this and that. And sometimes, you know, she would give and sometimes she wouldn't. But she would always ask them their name. How often do we ask a person who asks us for money, a homeless person, their name? So I think it's time for us to act a little bit. Ask yourself, what would the Buddha do? And remember, the Buddha searched for the answer to our suffering, and he didn't come up with it instantly. But when he did, he began teaching. And the wonderful thing about our religion is that I was named Sraddha, which means faith, but with my name comes great doubt, which is we can question it. We can ask the question, is it working for me? And I have never, in all these years of being a Buddhist and growing old into it, I have never doubted it. I've seen it just works. It answers my questions to life. You know, this virus, whose fault is it? Blah, blah, blah. Throughout all history, horrible things happen, as well as wonderful things. And what we know, you know, a great monk once said, somebody asked him, can you define Buddhism in a sentence? And the students laughed and said, you know, what could you say about Buddhism in one sentence? And the students laughed. And, you know, thinking it's too complex. And all the monks said back was, everything changes. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes. And so we have a chance right now during these stressful times. We have a chance to be true, to really work on ourselves as Buddhists, to look inward and to reach outward. I guess that's more or less what I have to say today. Any questions? Hello?
Yes, do you have any question, anybody? Any question, any comment?
I do.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much for your Dharma talk, and thank you for the idea, you know, of compassion as being.
Oops. You went out. Hello, Vincent.
Vincent may have a problem with the signal or something. Yes, Nick, you have a question. Nick, please.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for your talk. Will you discuss compassion as it relates to the first precept?
You mean not to kill? Well, I think as Buddhists, no matter how, I was thinking, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about this. Like what happens in times of war? I was thinking about that. You know, what does the Buddhist do in a time of war? I think we have to take that precept as seriously as we can. I think we would have to be a conscientious objector. I think we would have to, you know, maybe be the nurse and not pick up the rifle. I mean, I was thinking about that yesterday, as a matter of fact. Does that answer your question? Is that what you were asking?
I was hoping you would expound
me.
on it a little bit. Maybe my motivation in asking is related to consumption of meat.
Oh, well, that's that varies with who you talk to. The consumption of meat, it truly does. Remember, the monks would eat whatever they were given because they were begging. Okay, and I went to a talk. You had on one level someone I truly admire, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, who is an avid vegetarian. And he spent most of his lecture yelling at people, saying they had to give up meat, okay? Then when the Dalai Lama was here, he was served, vegetarian meals. And he literally went back to his hotel and ordered a steak. The reason being, and I went through this, is he was anemic and he needed iron. And so he said he would eat a steak, but he wouldn't eat shrimp, a shrimp cocktail. Why? A steak was one life, a shrimp cocktail was 5 lives on the plate. So it becomes on who you talk to and what you could live with as far as that goes. You know, I mean, I become very conscious throughout my Buddhism. I'm not a full vegetarian, believe you me, but I become very conscious. And there was a period where Tom and I were eating a lot of chicken, and I thought, oh my God, in my next life, I'm going to come back as a chicken. It's something that is in our mind. The precepts are wonderful in that they should be in our mind constantly. You know, they're checking our behavior. They're putting us on the right path. So it's like in all of Buddhism, it's up to you what you could be comfortable with. And if you could reduce, say, eating meat and you want to, then do that.
I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for like 28 years. I belong to a Ajahn Sumedho study group, and I just discovered this group eats chicken and brings chicken to the temple, and I was kind of floored.
Yes.
And I didn't really know what to say because there was a newcomer there, and she was asking, what should I bring to the temple to eat? And they started talking about bringing chicken, and well, the bhikkhus don't really eat it, but the lay people do.
Right.
And I really have been rolling for a couple days now, thinking like, do I belong to this group? Because of course, at the end, we chant metta, and right. I'm really listening to what we're saying, and I'm like, I wouldn't be able to chant this metta and eat meat.
Okay.
But then that's me, right? Isn't that Buddhism? This is me, yes. But their experience is something different, I guess.
Right, but I mean, it's something I think about. It's something, you know, you think, are you participating in suffering? Are you not? But just remember, you know, when Buddha was going around, they ate what was given. And it also depends on where you come from. You think where the Dalai Lama came from and those monks came from, there was very little vegetables. You know, so I think the other thing is, and this is hard for me, is the idea of judgment. We have to curtail our judgment. And
I'm wondering if that's what I'm doing. I'm aware of it. I'm watching it come up. I'm like, oh,
right.
Is this me? Is this? I'm the hero again.
Is an ego? I'm a better Buddhist than they are. Yes. Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Any question? Anybody have any question? All right. So looks like no question. All right. Thank you, Sraddha, your talk, and I really appreciate. We're going to chant the page 4 and page 10 and some Pali chanting also because we have a little bit time. So again, thank you for everybody. And all right. I think I have to say thank you, Selvin, and you bring some food for us. Thank you so much. We got everything. And we're going to chant right now.
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Tipiso bhagava araham samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidum. Purisa dhamma sarathe sattha deva manussanam buddho bhagavati. Swakhato bhagavata dhammo sandithiko akaliko. Apanayika pacchattam veditabbo vinyahiti. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho ujjapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho nyayapatipanno bhagavato swami patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho yadidam chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggalam. Savaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo jalekaraneyo anuttaram punyakhetam lokasati. Vajjena tutang ratanatayang etena sacha vajjena tutang ratanatayang etena sacha vajjena tutang ratanatayang mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba buddhana bhavena sada sati bhavantu te. Sabba mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sati bhavantu te. Rakantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sati bhavantu te. Human beings are limitless. I vow to save them all. Deluding passions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. Suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find hell relief. Mani Padme Om.
Thank you again for everybody. Thank you, Sraddha. Next Sunday, when Panyaloka is going to give the Dhamma talk, by the power of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you
Reverend
all
Chan-
be well and happy. Thank you. See you next Sunday.
Reverend Shanti, may I say one thing more? Reverend Shanti?
Huh?
Reverend Shanti, may I say one thing more?
Yes, please.
Okay. I wanted to mention again, as I started off saying, feeling the anger, we have to remember that we are all interconnected, and how we act, what we spread is going to affect, just like what we do creates our karma. Our actions have implications since we are all interconnected.
Thank you.
Sorry, Reverend Shanti.
All right, thank you, Sraddha, and thank you about your donation. You went to last time for the funeral service, your friends, and they give some donation. We got ready about that. Thank you again for that one also. One of your friend, I don't remember the name. Thank you again, and stay safe home. Hope to see you next year sometime soon, okay?
Okay. Be well.
Be well. Thank you again.